Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm Bobby Klink. I'm the founder of Your Online Genius. If you're someone who's been joining me live, I apologize for being a little bit late today. Had a few things going on. Today I had a great plan about what I was going to talk to you about, and I'm changing it up. Today we are talking all about how sometimes you have to pivot. You have to change where you're focusing. You have to change what your plans are. You have to kind of course correct in the middle of a well-laid plan. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about what's going on for me right now, because I think it's a learning lesson. I think it's something that is useful, and I can use what's happening to me literally right now as we speak as an example to hopefully kind of motivate you and give you a sense of how you can handle this and make things happen. So we're going to talk about pivoting today. And again, some people, I think, end up being a little bit too wedded to their plans. They can't handle making a change. And maybe if you followed me for a while, you're like, well, you talk about planning all the time. And I do. I talk about having plans and creating a plan and try to work that plan. But the reality is that life, business, whatever you want to call it, sometimes gives you a swift kick in the rear and says, I don't like your plan. You're going to have to make some changes. And if you resist that, if you refuse, it's going to be a problem. So you have to be willing to kind of roll with the punches and make some changes. And I'm doing that right now. And here's what's going on. I want to be completely candid with you and be, 100% honest. And, maybe you can relate to this, or maybe this doesn't exactly relate to you, but you can, kind of see how it might relate in other ways. I still have my law firm business, but that's not where I'm focusing right now. I'm focusing on this online business, building this online business. This is where my future is. It's where I will be by 2020. I expect probably 100% of my time is going to be on the online business. But I'm still a service provider in my law firm. And I've had some things come up. One thing in specific, I'm not going to get into the details because the details don't really matter. But because of a commitment, because of an allegiance to an existing client, and a feeling of wanting to serve my clients, because that's kind of something that's deep within me, something came up that's related to something that was resolved like years ago. But me staying involved is going to serve this client. And so I agreed to do it, but here's the problem. What it's going to mean is that over the next 2 months or so, I conservatively say I'm going to have to spend 6+ hours a day on my law firm business. It could very well be 8+ hours, many days. There could be weeks where I have to dedicate pretty much, full time to this case, because it's essentially a big, dispute, a big litigation that's going to get condensed into a couple or a few months. So that's going on in my life. That's going on in my business. Now, it's not the kind of case I would have taken on now if it wasn't for an existing client, if it wasn't related to something, but it's a reality of life. And what that means is I don't have the kind of time that I expected to have in my online business over the next 2 to 3 months. And so I had to say, okay, what does that mean? And it's going to mean a few things. It's going to mean I have to change my plans. I have to pivot some things in the online business. I have to create ways that I can continue to focus on kind of the most important work, if you will, for the business and for serving customers and for serving my tribe, et cetera, that I can manage alongside of my law firm work. And I have to figure that out. And I've been kind of dealing with this and wrestling with it for about a week and a half now, when it really kind of became obvious this was going to happen. And so it's meaning a couple things. One, it's meaning I have to push my launch. I was planning to launch my signature product, the Online Genius Template Library, again, the first half of April. There's just no way I can do that. I can't do all the things between now and the beginning of April and be in that launch that I need to be. I just can't do it. It can't happen. Even if I didn't sleep, I don't know that I would have the time, but I'm not going to not sleep anyway. That's not good for anyone. Then I wouldn't be serving people on either side. So that just can't happen. So I have to kick that. And I don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to not happen until at the very earliest late May, could easily be June or July before. I may just kind of end up having to skip this April launch altogether and just, do my July launch that I had planned. That's not entirely clear, but I'm pivoting. And I know that I'm pivoting. you know, but let me talk about how even though I'm having to pivot, it doesn't mean that I kind of give up on things. And it's going to mean often that you're going to continue to, you know, you can call it deal with the low hanging fruit, the easy stuff. And here's what I mean by that. I've got a wait list of people who want to join the Online Genius template library. They want to buy it. And I had that as part of my launch plan anyway. I already have some emails that I had written for the last time around, for the last launch, that went to my wait list. And so I'm going to do a limited, you know, kind of just a short cart open period for my wait list. Just send them some emails. They can buy or they can't, whatever. It's up to them, but that's easy. I can serve them by making it available. I can serve my business by, you know, potentially bringing in the revenue without having to do this heavy lifting that, you know, is going to interfere with the other things I have to do. So again, when you have to pivot, when life gets in the way, think about things like that. Is there some kind of low hanging fruit where you can say, this is easy. I can still execute this and get it done and be done with it. If so, you should do that, because again, I'm serving people, I'm making money. It's, you know, good all around, right? So that's one thing that I'm doing. So, you know, that's a piece of it. Another piece, candidly, I was developing a quiz, which over the short term my plan was to have it kind of lead into my launch. Well, now, I mean, the quiz was about 75% done. Long term, I always intended that quiz to become something that kind of helps people segment, find the templates that they need for their business, and get the templates, but also get, like, you know, knowledge about the business side, because I'm doing more and more teaching about that and more, you know, education and information about that. And so that was kind of always my plan. So I pivoted. I said, I could, you know, basically on Friday, I made this decision that if I spent this past weekend, you know, really working hard on that quiz, I believed that I could get it ready and that I could have it ready essentially by today. And I say ready, what I should say is my work is basically done. And so I committed to myself that I was going to do that. And this is another example of, you know, how as an entrepreneur, sometimes you're going to have to make decisions that can seem hard. But what it meant was I had a choice. I could just shelve the quiz altogether, or I could say to myself, I could talk to my wife and I could say, look, this is a season of our life. You know, if I can find a way to really work hard the next 2 days, so that was yesterday and the day before, and really knock this stuff out, I will have it set up. I can serve people. And by the way, maybe it will, you know, add to kind of some evergreen, you know, revenue coming in from people taking the quiz and saying, oh, well, those are the templates I need. I'll grab those. And so I did that. I committed to it. I created, I think, something like 8 videos that are part of it. I created, you know, I was working on, but finished 4 big reports. These are like 16 to 17 page playbooks that people are going to get that is about the business building side, but also has a little bit about the legal stuff. I've gotten them proofread, and now I'm waiting to hear back from designers, and I ship those off, right? And those are off my plate. I built, I think, I won't get the total number right, but I think I built something like 14 or 15 pages along the funnel. Now, again, ideally I would have someone who could do that for me, but the problem was I didn't yet have the system set up. And so I said, you know, I'm just going to do it. So there's sales pages, there's results pages, there's the quiz landing page, there's all of that stuff that had to be built out. And so I got it all done, got it all hooked up, got it, you know, ready to go. Now, I got to be honest, I'm still going to have somebody go through, check all the SEO, the metadata, make sure all the buttons are working, check for typos, things like that. But I feel pretty good about it. But I give you this as a separate example that a lot of times people, when an obstacle comes up, they'll use it as, I give up, I can't do anything. And I think that's the wrong approach too, right? When something comes up that forces you to pivot, a lot of times what you need to do is say, okay, I'm going to do that, but I can find a way to really do some concentrated, focused work right now. And if I do that, I can knock off this big rock and I can really move things and get them moving in my business. And that second piece is always the way to go. That second route is always the way to go. Now, I want to be clear. Like if your obstacle is a huge family medical emergency or something like that, deal with that. I mean, deal with that. Don't worry about the business stuff. Hopefully you have some kind of system in place, et cetera. But if you can find a weekend to really knock stuff out, often under the pressure, you will find a way to focus and you'll get things done. Quite honestly, that work, I'm going to be honest with you. If I didn't have this pressure, I would have spent a whole week doing all of that stuff. But because I didn't have that option, I focused 100%. Literally, I didn't have email open. I wasn't doing stuff. I didn't have my phone. I put all of my attention and I got it done. And I think it's done well. It's not like I didn't do a good job. I just didn't have an option to let it kind of, spread out. So I got it done. So often when you have that pressure, if you commit to it, you'll be able to make some big progress. So that's the other piece to it. So the big takeaway today, I know I talked a lot about me, but let me kind of put these in big takeaways. Number one, you're going to have to pivot in your business. You should have a plan, but don't refuse to pivot. I got to be honest. I probably should have made this decision 2 weeks ago because I knew this was coming, but I was resistant. And I was resistant simply because I had this plan and I didn't want to give up on the plan. I had this great plan, a grand plan for the whole year. I mean, how stupid was that? Let's be honest. Yes, I can have a plan for the year, but the notion that the life is going to go according to my plan for an entire year is just kind of funny. It's just kind of ridiculous that I would think that. But I did, and I resisted, and a lot of people do that. So don't do that. Recognize that you should have a plan, and you shouldn't get knocked off your plan just because some inconvenience comes. But be willing to change things, and don't be so wedded to a plan that you refuse to pivot when things are telling you should. So that's point number one. Point number two, when you do make that pivot, find, is there some low-hanging fruit? Is there some, easy, non-heavy lifting I can do to get things done, to kind of make some progress here before I pivot? If so, do it. If you do that, you will often, get some good. That again is the wait list notion. Yes, I'm not doing the launch, but I'm going to launch to my wait list. And so, people can still get it who really want it, et cetera. And then the final piece is find if there's a way that you can put some dedicated time before you pivot to kind of put whatever you're doing on solid footing. So that's kind of the last piece I would say if you do that. So those are the teaching points I get from it. And I think if you apply those in your business, you will be much better off. Now, I do want to say I'm still going to be here. I'm not going to be disappearing. I'm just not going to be able to do the heavy lifting of a launch and those kinds of things. So what I wanted to do was get things on solid footing so that I can do the direct engagement, those kinds of things, and keep those up. And that's what I'll be focusing on in the online business over the next couple of months, probably. So I'll still be doing these lives. At some point, I'm going to go down not to 3 times a week, but I'll still be doing lives here on the page, offering these things and interacting with people, etc. So I'll be here. Hope to see you. I'll be here again Wednesday and again Friday this week. So hopefully I'll see you then. I'll talk to you later.